All right, good morning, everyone. It is here right at 10:08 a.m. Central Time here on Wednesday, September 11th, 2024. I do want to call this meeting of the Industrial Development Board to order, as we do have a quorum. We did this briefly in our ad hoc committee meeting. Obviously, a day that will always be etched in our history and in the world, here being September 11th. So if you will, please join me in a moment of silence. All right, thank you. Moving on on the agenda that was sent out to you previously, we move on to item number 2, public comment period. Public comment period. The Industrial Development Board holds a designated public comment period at each meeting. Members of the public in attendance may provide comments to the board or its committees during such designated time. Members of the public are allotted 2 minutes for public comment. No advance registration is required. With that, is there anyone here from the public wishing to speak at today's meeting? All right, seeing as how there's no one here from the public wishing to speak, we will close the public comment period. Moving on to item number 3, approval of prior meeting minutes. Those should be on your desk, so I'll give you a couple of minutes, just a couple minutes to do a review of those, and I'll entertain a motion. This is from our June meeting. One of the one item that we did approve at that meeting, if you recall, is the supplemental bond issuance for Nashville Leased Housing Associates, Dominium, for their project at 900 at Cleveland Park. All right, with that, I will entertain a motion to approve the June 12th, 2024 minutes of the Industrial Development Board.
Move approval.
All right, so we have a motion by Board Member Davis. Thank you. Do we have a second?
A second.
All right, thank you, Board Member Wright. So the motion is properly second. Any discussion on these minutes? All right, all those in favor of approving these minutes say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right, motion carried. Please let the record show the chair abstained. Moving on to the next item, item number 4, revenue bond update, Nashville Leased Housing Associates. If you take a look at this should be on your desk as well, and it was sent out in the email. I'm not looking at. Oh, here we go. Yep, it's attached to the agenda. If you look at the report on debt obligation, this is pertaining to the Nashville Leased Housing Associates that we just discussed. If you recall at the meeting, we did when the board approved that supplemental bond issuance in June, we did a not to exceed of $5 million. This actually came in at 3.5 million. So this bond deal has closed. The $3.5 million Dominium supplemental bond financing did close on June 21st, so it closed right after our meeting. The final post-closing item is the online filing of the Form 0253 debt obligation form, which sets forth the details in terms of the financing, including the legal and financial professionals involved. Per applicable federal and state law, the Form 0253 debt obligation form must be filed online and presented at the issuer's board meeting within 45 days of the closing, or at such other time as mutually agreed between the issuer and the state. Although we've already passed the 45-day mark, we have communicated this with the state, and we're granted an extension in July with the understanding that this form will be filed this morning. It's currently queued and ready for submission at the conclusion of today's IDB meeting. Unlike municipal issuers, the state is generally very lenient with conduit issuers such as the IDB because this can be a very inconvenient requirement, as conduit issuers do not meet regularly like municipal issuers. The governor is more stringent on this requirement with the municipal issuers, i.e. the Metro Council, versus conduit issuers, i.e. the IDB. However, we complete and submit the form to remain in good standing and to be in compliance with applicable federal and state law. As discussed with the Cumberland Heights closing, this matter does not require official board action through a vote. It is merely an update to the board that the transaction has closed. All post-closing items have been duly completed and can be presented under old business, which we have no action. So again, I would say congratulations to this board. We approved that. And it did close. So again, no action needed, but we're required to present this at the meeting. Any questions or comments on this?
So I just want to clarify, this is just an update from Dominion that they closed their
Yeah, so this
bond, basically?
Yeah, we're required, this has to be presented
Okay.
after it closes to the
Yeah, so-
IDB because we're the issuer.
If I may, Chair.
Thank you.
So state law and apparently also under federal law, they were required to file this form with you. And it's basically to be presented to you for informational purposes. And really the main thing that I think they want you to look at is on section 11, the cost of issuance. Really so you can see what fees were charged. So there you can actually see the amount that Corcoran and Law made, how much the firm that represented the borrower made, and other fees that were paid as well.
Okay.
So it's really for informational purposes, so you understand what costs and fees were paid related to the deal.
Gotcha. Our printout like skipped 10 and 11.
10 and 11. It was
We got 9 and 12. but-
Oh, well,
sure
I can
it's
give
in
you
the,
mine that has front and back if you want to pass it around.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's it. Yeah, that's, you don't want to.
Copy reader, yeah.
That way.
Okay.
I'm sure it's in the PDF version anyway.
Okay,
but,
here you go, man.
Please blame that on the technology.
No worries. Yeah, my only other question, I mean, obviously, it's kind of like built now and everything's good. I mean, there's nothing that's gonna come back to us, right? I mean, since it was like a successful build out.
Well, I don't, I like not to live in the world of hypotheticals. But I think, Board Member Davis, I think you were on the board, to my recollection. Yes, you were on the board. I think Board Member Johnson was on the board. When we initially approved this bond deal, the major piece several years ago. And again, the reason why they came back to us, as they stated back in June, was, construction costs had gone up during construction. And so they needed what's called a supplemental issuance.
Yep.
The project is close to completion. I anticipate there'll be from what I understand, there'll likely be a grand opening ceremony here coming up within the next month or two. But you never
Yeah.
know. But
Yeah,
but this is to show that what we approved in June has closed.
Okay, so they closed their bond. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I drive by that all the time, everything looks good, and it's a great product that's much needed, so I'm sure they're gonna
Absolutely, and on
keep
a
it
major
filled.
corridor.
Right, so, shouldn't be an issue.
Yep, thank you for your question. Any other questions?
Just want to make sure I'm reading it right. So the IDB got $7,000 from this, and that's it?
According to that, section 11.
I'm sorry,
The IDB only got 7,000 at the close.
Section 11 is 7,000.
yes, that is correct. So these were paid out of the actual bonds that were issued, so 7,000 came from that. Now, there were other, I can't remember, I forget what the new policy, I know they pay an upfront cost and all that kind of
Yes,
stuff.
they have to pay the application fee. Everybody pays the application fee regardless if we approve it or not. That's just the fee. And then the amount that we received is based on a percentage of the bond amount.
Right, so I think that's where the $7,000
That's
came
right.
from, is that, okay.
That's correct. Any other questions, comments? All right. All right, thank you. Moving on to item number 5, Tennessee ECD grant updates. No action, but just a couple items. Again, just want to make sure that we keep the board abreast of items that have been before us. So a couple updates, and these again all relate to state pass-through grants. again, we kind of talked about this a little bit in ad hoc where the state is not granting the money directly to the companies. That money flows to the IDB as a pass-through and then to the companies due to state law. So a couple updates. We had a couple of months ago August Bioservices that came before us. Everything is finalized with that payment. Actually signed off on some paperwork here about a month ago on that one. So everything's final on that. This board approved a grant for them as well. And again, they have a facility on Donaldson and Elm Hill, and they're in the research, pharmaceutical research industry. They had a representative that came and spoke to us as well. So I passed by it, that facility. It looks great. And then Amazon will likely be coming before us for an amendment for this board to approve. We would anticipate here within the next month or two. And to be clear, this is not, this is the state Amazon grant. Several years ago, for those that were on the board at the time, Metro and this board did approve a Metro incentive grant for Amazon as well. But that is separate from this. This is the state piece. So anticipate they'll be coming before us with that. Also, Wholesome Holdings, they came before us also earlier this year. We anticipate there'll be some, that's another state piece that will be coming back before us here over the next couple of months. And again, we've already approved that one, so that one's an amendment. And then the last one, which is pretty exciting, is Rock Nashville. You may have seen that out in the news. Jamar, you want to talk a little bit about that one?
Sure. Rock Nashville, which is backed by Rocklytics out of the Northeast, I think out of Pennsylvania. They've chosen Nashville as a new investment for a 55-acre music campus where they're going to establish two prep stages for touring acts. Currently, they have one in Pennsylvania, as I mentioned, and this one will have two here in town, along with the relocation of Soundcheck. So Soundcheck's going to be moving up to that new campus as well, and did a groundbreaking a couple weeks ago. And this, the state has a new program for kind of these unique industries that don't necessarily fall into traditional categories. And so this being a music campus practice hall is not a traditional industry that we would traditionally work with. And so this is a new program that's going to be coming before the board as a grant program as well.
And we'll whenever this does, again, we anticipate this would come before us here later this year in Q4 as of now, but we'll certainly request that. Obviously, anytime we have these, we always make the request that someone from the state as well as from the company representative to come talk to us. Even though it is a pass-through grant, we're still approving it. And this will be out in Whites Creek, so pretty neat there. And I was reading the article. It says some of the sets that this company has created, some of the artists they've created sets for are Elton John, Taylor Swift, and Justin Bieber. So I was like, that's strong right there. So anyway, just want to keep this board abreast on some items that we anticipate coming before us here.
I have one more note, just to clarify on the Amazon one, this is an amendment to their original state grant, so not a new grant.
That's
just
right.
an amendment.
Absolutely. All right. Any questions or comments on those Tennessee ECD grants that are coming before us? All right, moving on to item number 6, ad hoc committee report. We did have our ad hoc committee meeting. I want to thank the board members. We went through, primarily we went through the legislative update. You all should have received that. Jamari sent that out last month regarding some legislation, recent legislation. I appreciate Josh doing the heavy lifting on that to put that together. We spent a lot of our conversation today as a board regarding some of the new legislation that gives the IDB potentially some authority to do some items with housing. So really excited about that. Again, there's some next steps. Metro has to pass that to give us the ability to do that, but really great discussion around that. And so we're going to really focus on that here over the next several months. We also had some discussion as an ad hoc committee once we've done some more research on potentially drafting a letter and signing it as a board to Metro to recommend approval and move forward with this legislation. Again, for us to do that, that'll be something that the board will have to approve, if the board so chooses. But anyway, really great discussion on that today. We also have, each of us has some homework to do for our next ad hoc committee meeting as well. And researching other cities, peer cities, at what they're doing, benchmarking what they're doing with this program. As I shared in ad hoc, for anyone who's interested, I will ask Jamari to send out Matt Wilshire's presentation back in June. He came to our ad hoc committee. He talked a lot about what they're doing in Charlotte in his presentation. So I will ask Jamari, I'll get that to Jamari and have him send that out to the board. But also, you can also look at the YouTube video as well. So thank you. And then any other comments from anyone on that? Questions?
Can we see that legislation, or can we look it up in the portal?
So the legislation, you should have that in your email. Jamari sent an email out last month, and it's a quick memo that Josh put together that kind of summarizes each one, and then you can click on the link. Here you go. So take a look at it. And again, in today's meeting, our ad hoc, kind of the items we focused on, Charlie, were the affordable housing, the one with the second page where it allows local industrial development boards to finance affordable housing projects. So there's some items that need to be worked through on that, because essentially Metro would have to provide collateral and credit as a backstop on those deals, but we're gonna do the research on it and continue having discussions on that.
Gotcha.
All right, moving on to item number 7. I've kind of already talked about one of those, which is the Dominion Project 900 at Cleveland Park. I know that we'll be invited to the grand opening for that facility. I anticipate that will be in the next month or two. So we'll certainly keep everybody posted once we have an exact date on that if you'd like to attend. I was able to attend the groundbreaking for that several years ago. Really excited, had the opportunity to speak, so again, we'll keep you abreast of that as well. And then the only second item, and we kind of talked about this, so I won't share a whole lot because we talked about it in ad hoc, was the WeGo grand opening for the Ernest Rip Patton Transit Center in North Nashville. That was a project that came before the board several years ago. Myself, Board Member Davis, Board Member Johnson were on the board. We approved a pilot. That's actually the last pilot that we've done in Metro, and the last pilot this board approved. And so had the opportunity to go to the groundbreaking 2 years ago. But the opening ceremony a couple of weeks ago, the grand opening, was phenomenal. It was hot out there, but it was phenomenal. It was a lot of people. I mean, great speakers. The energy was great. And again, I just think when it comes to this board and what we're trying to do, when you think about economic development and growth for everyone, having that transit center there in North Nashville and making it more convenient, accessible for folks to get to where they need to go without having to transfer always downtown is really great. There was a lot of energy there. So anyway, really excited about that. So if any comments, I know you were there, Board Member Channel, I saw you.
I was just gonna say it was a great event. Really exciting that this board has the ability to grant pilots for innovative things like that. That I know in the mayor's transit plan, there's another 11 stops that could potentially be created should it pass in November, which I hope it will. But maybe there's other opportunities down the line where we're getting creative to fund and help offset some of those costs down the line.
Yep, and that also had to go through Metro Council as well, my pilot. Board Member Channel, anything from there? All right. Well, with that, with there being no further business, it is here right at 10:28. I know some people said they skipped breakfast, so we will adjourn this meeting on September 11th, 2024 of the Industrial Development Board. I want to thank Metro Legal, thank Metro ECD, Metro Finance, and most of all, thank you, board members, for your service. Everybody have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Chair.